Hi, good evening, all. How are we doing today?
Good afternoon. All is well. How are you?
Good
I'm
evening.
fine, thank you.
Good
Good
evening. Good
evening.
evening.
Okay, good evening. So I sent out a review sheet. Did everybody receive the review sheet?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Joey did not receive the review sheet. I think you have the wrong email for me, Miss Bullet.
Okay, let's check. 1 second. I picked it up off the
Yeah, because when you
email I was.
send the welcome email and I saw my email address in it, it was incorrect. So I guess you use that same one that you had in the welcome email.
Okay, give me the email again.
JOE
Mm-hmm.
LICIA
Okay.
D@gmail.com.
Okay, let me know if you receive it, please.
I will check right now.
Miss Bullard.
Yes.
Trisha here.
Yes.
I received the review.
I just got it. Thank you. Sorry.
Patricia and Alexine is the same person.
Oh, okay. Let me just pull it up.
You have questions allocated to Patricia and to Alexine.
Okay. So, okay, stick with question 8. And I'll assign question 9 to somebody else. Okay?
Okay.
Anybody did not see their name on the sheet? No? Okay. That means that
I'm checking
everybody
right
has a question. Sorry?
I'm checking right now. I know I got the email, but I haven't opened it up as yet. I was driving. 1 second.
Okay.
Miss B, one of the ladies in the group.
Yeah, I see Roslyn. Yeah. Yes.
One of the ladies said she'll be a little late to class, but she has to be with her husband.
This is 10 points. Oh.
Sorry. Okay, thank you. You said somebody will be late?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, any newspaper articles or 5% before we get into chapter 9?
I guess I'll start.
Yeah.
So I read that governor would have been in the top 50 selected. Oh, sorry, Governor John Rule, the governor of Central Bank. He would have been recognized as one of the top 50 participants in the Bloomberg 50, as he was. It says, if I remember correctly, says since the world had started to deal with the first central bank digital currency in late 2020. The Bahamas has approximately now $300,000 worth of sand dollars in circulation. And I assume he would have been the one who spearheaded the whole sand dollar project. And so he was listed as one of the top 50 persons around the world in terms of just giving people ideas and define global business in 2021.
Okay, that's excellent. That's good. Positive light on the country. So that's good. Anybody else?
Yes, Joey here. I
Mhm.
read today's newspaper, in fact, and spot on for our class was a headline about the central bank reporting suspicious transactions, saying that the numbers have doubled by 144% from 2019. In 2019, we had about 244, I believe, suspicious transactions reported. But since 2020 into 2021, that number has doubled to 566 reports into the central bank. And I
Into
think
the
report,
FIU,
right,
into the
sorry.
FIU, not into the, mhm.
Right. And I think the report had asked the question, why has the number gone to 144%? And the bank seems to suggest that it is because of, I guess, now that there is a pandemic, people are finding creative ways to try and, get monies and do odd stuff. So that was pretty interesting to read today.
Yes, and prior to or leading up to the law changes, we would have BACOs, the Bahamas Association of Compliance Officers, their seminars, their lunch and learns, and then there was a risk seminar. And the director always came up and said that there is a, limited amount of STRs being filed, and as a jurisdiction, it sheds a negative light on the industry, that there are in fact, suspicious or unusual things going on in the financial institutions, and we're not reporting them correctly. So for years, that was a cry. However, the rebuttal from the industry was that we have a very strong onboarding process. And so if we don't onboard you, I mean, we, carry out proper customer due diligence. And so we normally don't onboard you. And that's when they said, but even if those persons are not onboarding, we would like you to keep those files. So when we come in to do a review, or perhaps file an SDR and let us know, this is the reason, this was suspicious about the information that they presented, and so we could create a blacklist for the industry. And like I told you all the story about that company that said they were going to develop the 53rd state in the United States. And so the regulator was able to blacklist them. So any institution that they tried to go and open up the account, they would have been stopped in their tracks. So then they said training, and then there were some other issues, whereas a past president of BACO had said, I filed an STR and I am now a part of the, I received the disclosure order. I no longer work to that company, but I'm still appearing in court, to give testimony. However, every single time I go and apply for a job, some people don't ever call me back, because you can Google and my name shows up. And so she insisted that, something had to be done in regards to protection of the employee. And it particularly as trustee, and she said now, she would have gotten negative media, and she felt that it prevented her from getting jobs, or she always had to walk around with a letter from her lawyer to explain that she was only giving testimony on behalf of the company, because she was the compliance officer at the time. And so a few things had to be fixed. Another cry was that there's no witness protection. You go in court, the person, walks right out of court, but you can kill you right there on the court steps, and there's no protection. They say, Ms. Bullitt, give this statement or what have you. And so the FIU, was working to try and correct, and they came back to the industry and they were saying, they had put some safeguards in place. They had created, remember I said there's a white collar prison now. Before we used to get lost in Central and all the murderers and what have you would come down there on a Monday morning to go to court. So now they have a white collar crime for the FIU, and that's on top of the grave Bethel's mortuary, and so that's where you would be placed. So they have put some safeguards in place too, especially since they knew some of them would have been going to court, and so even now we see that they're not going to parade the person across the TV, or so the media can see, because a lot of retaliation has been going on. So yeah, I attribute the increase to, I guess, training, the update of the law, persons more aware of what they should report, establishing not just a threshold, but having a profile in place for each person. And so, yeah, so it's good. So hopefully we'll see the number, because like I said, prior to 2018, money laundering was not a predicate crime. But after, it became a predicate crime immediately, I think the Attorney General said there were 84 persons charged with money laundering. And so the FIU has a lot of work to do to ensure that, these SDRs are investigated properly and these persons are being brought before the court. Because of course, like I said, we're being internationally watched, and that's a big, a big issue for us. So hopefully, this perhaps will make us now compliant in, that deficient recommendation.
But the Whistleblower Protection Act doesn't assist?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And
But I mean,
again,
if the Whistleblower Protection Act, your name still has to be given to the public or to the individual that you are whistleblowing on?
I'm not certain of the entirety of the law, but I would expect that they should be able to hide your name, because of course, look what happened to Eric Snowden. Like, everybody in the world knows who he is, and even though he is in exile in Russia. And so I imagine that they want some safeguards and protection in place, so people don't know who you are. You should be able to speak in confidence. And even on the SDR form that we looked at last week, we saw that you don't necessarily have to put on paper that you are the compliance officer. They already have you registered. They know that they should receive SDRs from the compliance department or the MLRO. And so you can put the company's name and just sign MLRO. So your name, that's a safeguard that to protect you. So your name is never out there, or, how files always go missing and information is shared. And so that would create a layer of protection for yourself, because like I said, they should have that information somewhere else, and so you can do that. So you can just sign anonymously or say MLRO, because they would have already verified you and know who you are. And especially that everything is online now. Okay, so again, chapter 10 talks about, making sure you have a proper outsourcing policy and you're aware and who you're doing business with, to avoid any counterparty risk. And talks about the whistleblower policy. So Patricia will talk some more, and perhaps I will research the law so we can look at the table of contents and see, the extent to which it is. But in the interim, that's Saturday. So, ensure that you are familiar with the whistleblower policy in your company, and should you need to blow the whistle, who do you go to? And if you need to blow the whistle on the person you should go to, but just normally, probably the compliance officer. I've seen one where it was the CEO and the person was actually blowing the whistle on the CEO. So then there should be a step that tells you to go to the regulator. And I imagine after the ombudsman office is going to be established, they would deal with that. But there's somebody to, I guess, the relationship manager or, the complaints department at the central bank who would deal with that, or the Securities Commission, or whomever the regulator is. Okay, so we'll talk more about that next week. Okay, so very good topic, ladies. Anybody else?
I attended the Kiwanis yesterday at 7 o'clock. Kiwanis of New Providence. They're meeting, Kiwanis Club of New Providence. I met yesterday evening at 7 o'clock. It was a hybrid meeting. So some were on Zoom and some were in person. And they were awarding the Lifetime Member Award to Sandra Butler. She doesn't have to pay any membership fees for the rest of her life. She served in her capacity in Kiwanis, I should say, for 30 years. She was their first treasurer. And in her acceptance speech, she spoke about her service. Her life is about service, and that we should, everybody should take some time out to provide service somewhere, because we get so busy in our lives, whether it's work, whether it's our family, just our friends, but we don't give service to others. That was a part of her acceptance speech, and that's what the entire meeting was about last night, giving back in service to your life, in your life.
Okay, so very good. And yes, and I normally ask a person, have you done your charity for the year? We don't have to wait until December. And so, a very popular saying is always, before you lead, you must serve. So, and if you expect to be an effective leader, you must first serve so you can be effective. So yes, very, very good. And it's good that she can get her accolades, while she's alive and feel appreciated. So that's very good. Okay. Thank you for sharing, Patricia. So we have, I think, about 17 or 18 persons in here. And for the 5%, I have 13 persons already achieving the 5%. So there's about, I guess, 3 to 5 persons that don't have it. And next week is the last class for the chapter. And then the following week, we will have review. And so I would have sent out the review sheet. Hopefully everybody's name is attached. Patricia said I gave her 2 questions. So I will fix, she'll do number 8. So hopefully somebody who isn't on the list, by the end of class, hopefully everybody will be in. We'll find out who needs a question. If not, I will just provide the information for the question. Okay, so that's for the class on the 11th. So after Saturday, there will be no Wednesday class. And then we will just have Saturday morning of review. And then the exam will be scheduled for the 18th. Again, it's 3 hours, and normally I say schedule about 20 questions, 25 minutes for each question. Speak to your institutions, ask them for, time off. The key is being organized. Definitely by review class, you should know which questions that you're going into the exam with, and should be practicing them. Which essays you're gonna answer. In the exam is not the reading time, the 10 minutes reading time or 5 minutes of reading time is not the time to decide. I'm gonna answer the sanctions and the rest. No, you should already be prepared. Go in there with your you can't take anything physically, but in your mind, you should have already studied your research. And so, because this is a particularly large group, some persons will have to take it at 9:30 and some at 12:30. So from tomorrow, can you please call Miss Dean at the office and schedule your time, whether it's going to be 9:30 or 12:30. Okay, and so she'll perhaps take 8 persons or 9 persons at 9 and then other persons at 12:30. So please start to call this week to the office to Miss Dean to arrange your time. Okay, and for those of you who you know, the institute policy is, you know, you are to only come with your mask and your car keys, no cell phones. The exam is going to be recorded. Please, you know, we have had some people bring in a sheet and say, I didn't know it was an open book, and I didn't know Miss Bullitt said do my research and come with it. And they brought it, and so no books, and you know, it's not an open book test. And should you not be successful at the first attempt, my motto is to try and try again. In fact, what I've been reading all week is, should you fail, you, let me say it properly. My quote for the week was, let me see if I could find it. Let's see, what does it say? If you don't give up after you fail, you will have another opportunity to win. Okay, so should you not be successful at the first attempt, use your next opportunity to win. Okay, because you know, like I say, if at first you don't succeed, you try and try again. Okay, until you get it, and then you'll become expert because you would have had many tries. Okay, but there's a cost, I think it's $150 to reset. However, we have had persons who bought in their little cheat sheet or answered their cell phone that they shouldn't have had in the middle of the exam, and so they had to be removed from the exam. And then, just like any other college, you have to go to counseling and you have to get approved to get back into the program. One particular person, their institution, their company that they work for, paid for the course. And so they were calling, trying to find out what happened to the grade, and then found out that the person had been removed for cheating and had to go to counseling. And so, of course, you know, they were let go. Okay, so avoid all of that by being prepared and like I say, being organized and choosing which questions. You know that there are 5 essays, you know that one is mandatory, and if you practice, you become expert at these things and it becomes clearer, and that's how you retain the information. Okay, so just organize yourselves and speak to your families and ask them for a little bit of support for the next 2 weeks until you get through this exam. And then it'll be time to celebrate and Christmas and party for the rest of the year. Okay, so you need a little break just to get through this. Okay, Rosemary, you want to say something?
Yes, I wanted to know, Luthra, is the exam for me the same day as well? Because I think she did mention Spanish Wells to take it.
Yeah, so she normally has a center, and so she'll have to arrange. So when you call, just remind her that you're in Eleuthera, and she'll start to make the arrangements at the center.
Okay.
Okay, so please call tomorrow, because we'll have to give you a, because we'll have to give you a different version, you know, if the time and date is different. So we'd need to know, you know that.
Got you. Okay.
Okay,
Miss Bullitt, would you know the reset date, or that'll have to be scheduled afterward?
Yeah, that'll have to be scheduled afterwards, and it just, and I doubt it'll be any more for this year, because December 18th is already late. And like I said, version of this, we normally do one class a week because it's a lot of information and it's pretty heavy, but persons want to get into ICA for January. So we did the 2 days a week just to accommodate those persons, which is about half of this class wanted to get an ICA. Okay, so that's why we're here. And that's why we're
Right.
done. And this was very quick and very sweet. And yeah, Saturday will be the last chapter. So I'm hoping that you found all the information relevant and you can retain it and you can apply it to your institutions. Okay, but I feel confident. It's quick, but a very intellectual group, and persons seem to be conversational, getting used to the terminologies and understanding the material. So I am not, I have no fears about the exam. Okay.
Okay, thank
good.
you.
So good, great. Yeah, so remember the comments, Dean. This week, we're gonna go through chapter 9. But I just wanted to share with you, we received, what is this week, going on to rest. So early in the year, the survey that we went through, in what date was in a few classes ago, the surveys that we went through where, the regulator had asked us in support of the National Risk Assessment to complete, that came out early in the year. Now they have sent this but with a very short deadline. So the date of this was, let's see, this just came out this week. I think on November 22nd, it would have come out, and they are saying, why can't I see the other one? Okay, let's see. Is it this? Okay, just this. Okay. Yeah, so they are basically saying, the last time they would have submitted information and they need the industry. This was particularly for the financial corporate service providers. So this is the one I received. However, I'm certain that the banks, as well as the unions and all the other, gaming board and everybody got this. And so they saying that this survey is to be approved and signed by each licensee, by the CEO, the compliance officer, and returned to the commission before Friday, 17th, 2021. Now, normally they quote, any fines, but again, what I've seen so far is that they reported that they were gravely disappointed in the response and how important it was for the country. And again, like I said, the Bahamas had promised that everything would have been submitted to the Basel Committee in their update. Now that was under the prior government, that in March of 2021, they were doing their submission. So I don't know if this means that they have not submitted, but if they're asking for this information, I guess they're going to compile it. And so they give some definitions. And again, I just wanted us to take a look at, the questions, because if you work in the risk department or the compliance department, again, you should be familiar. And, these are the types of questions that the regulator asks. So we saw the first one, and then this one goes on to ask what type of structure you have, what type of services you provide. Do you deal with IBCs? Do you have any exempted limited partnerships? How long have you been a licensee with the commission? Does your company have a documented board or senior management approved compliance program? And again, you want to say yes, no, you want to tell the truth, because remember, like I said, when they started with these questions, these questionnaires and these surveys, Of course, this was back in 2018, and Ms. Bullitt just went through and said, yes, 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 yes. And then they asked me for source document, okay? So I guarantee you, if you say yes, you are to produce it. If you do have it, however, it's not been approved, please don't say, you better put yes, but not approved, because they are the approvers, so they know, if they have it. So don't end up like Ms. Bullitt. Okay, make sure you have source document for every question that you say yes to. And they ask, how frequently does your FI review and update its policies? Again, each policy should have a expiration date. And again, you should risk rate them high, medium, and low. And not that it has to be changed, but it has to at least be reviewed. So if they are high risk, like, of course, the AML policy is going to be considered high risk. It needs to be reviewed to make sure there are no changes annually. It needs to be reviewed to say, yes, I've checked the Basel Committee and the country ratings are still the same. I've checked the BSA and the professions, the ratings are still rated the same, right? And so you want to say how often it should, you update. Don't put never, because again, you'll get a phone call right away. Okay. Do you keep and maintain records for at least 7 years? Again, if this came from the central bank, they will say 5 years. However, under the Securities Commission, they require 7 years. You better say yes, or you would get a fine, because again, there's a fine attached to record keeping, remember? And so do you maintain records? Are we seeing the screen? Hello?
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
Y'all there? They talking back to me. What happened?
Can you hear us?
Yes, yes, we
Oh.
can see the screen. I mean, it's a little small, but we can see the screen.
Okay, you need me to make it bigger?
You can.
Is that better?
That's better.
That's better?
Yes, that's better.
Okay, good. Okay. And then do you maintain records for transactions? So again, ensure that you don't say no to those, because that's what's required by law. And if you say no, you'll get a fine. So number 14 says, does your FI have policies and procedures regarding the following? And this is where Ms. Bullitt got into lots of trouble, because I just said yes, 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 yes. And they called me back on the phone and said, send us a copy. And so I had to go and map exactly where everything was, because it's not that you would have an individual policy for each. It's that, perhaps this bearer shares is covered in your AML policy. Risk rating, if you don't have a separate policy, is covered in your AML policy. Transaction monitoring is covered in your AML policy. Okay. And again, if you say yes, but not documented, then they will call you back and say these need to be documented and sent right away. And if you say no, you may even get a fine. Okay. And so let's just look at the topics, because you want to ensure that you are aware, these are the policies that the regulator are checking for. And so you want to ensure that, you do have these policies and know where to find them. So the first one is to reasonably ensure that it only operates with correspondent banks that possess licenses to operate in their country of origin. Okay, so that's a new one. I've never seen that before. Okay, and so normally we go through, remember the Wolfsburg questionnaire deals with corresponding banking. And so that's the 8 largest banks in the world. And so that's like the Deutsche Bank, the Chase Bank, the Wells Fargo. And again, remember, under the US Patriot Act, all of that money rolls up into the Fed, so they can prosecute you under the Patriot Act. And so to operate in their country of origin, you have to ask them now, I guess, Are you licensed to operate as a correspondent bank? You know, and it says to reasonably insure. Okay, so does that mean they want source document? How do you reasonably insure? You have to ask them if they're licensed and perhaps get a copy. Okay, and again, this is how the regulator approaches. They don't make things mandatory. It's very subjective. Like they say these things, and now this should ring a bell that I got to start asking, you know, for these licenses and to ensure that I'm doing business with correspondent banks that are authorized. But I think this question is coming now from you know, unregulated exchanges and online, you know, everything being online now, and this perhaps has something to do like with digital currencies and stuff like that. And so there is a whole decentralized arena being established where persons who operate on the cryptocurrency does not necessarily go through a regulated exchange. And I guess this is what this question wants you to go and find out. Are these persons using a regulated exchange to wire this money around? When you know, and so they want you to find out. Client onboarding and ongoing monitoring. Yes, if you say yes, you have to produce, like I said, the policy, due diligence, risk rating of clients, transaction monitoring, reliance on third parties. And again, remember, like in the offshore world, nobody walks into the bank. And so we rely heavily on external asset managers. Self-risk assessment, is it documented? Training, business relationship with pets, terrorist financing, sanctions, proliferation. And again, in 2018, when the central bank guidelines changed from AML and counter financing of terrorism, and they added PF, we of course have to then add PF to our policy. And again, they said, send us a copy of the policy so they could see that we put proliferation financing in there. Okay, employee screening. Where's it documented? In an HR handbook? How do you screen employees? How do you onboard employees? Are you recording the telephone conversations? Are you checking the emails? Now, a lot of companies say we record telephone conversations, but they never do. And they check emails, but you know, some companies do it at the parent level. I've not seen many companies do it at the local level, you know, but a lot of information does come down from, you know, if you have a parent like in Switzerland or in Canada, a lot of information in terms of, you know, what happens on the system is shared. Okay, are we familiar with all these topics? Is there anything here that looks unfamiliar? Not very
Bear
quiet. You're
shares,
scaring me.
transfer of bear shares. I think it was on the other page.
Right. So again,
Treatment
share-
of bear shares.
Right. So in the Bahamas, we've made bearer shares. We no longer offer bearer shares. However,
Okay.
we can open an account for a country that offers bearer shares. So about 3 years ago, Panama stopped offering bearer shares. So we had a big Panamanian book. So that means if your company was incorporated in Panama and you had bearer shares, we had to call you in and we had to tell you, listen, your country has stopped offering bearer shares. And so now you have to go and incorporate your company again or close it out and establish a new company with registered shares. Okay. And so that was a big
huge
project. Yeah, it was a huge project.
Huge project.
Right.
Well,
And
why
so
don't we accommodate bearer shares anymore?
No, we just don't issue them anymore.
Oh,
We don't
sorry.
issue
I
them
think-
because of the risk. Because of course that's one of the criteria would cause the country to fall into a high risk category.
Okay.
So we just eliminated, we stopped accepting, we stopped issuing bearer shares. If you want to establish a company, you have to go through the KYC process and we have to verify who you are. There's a lot of risk surrounding the bearer shares, but we still allow, I think the St. Vincent and the Grenadines, they still, issue bearer shares. So we do have some companies out of Uruguay and St. Vincent and the Grenadine that the businesses were incorporated there and we hold the account in the Bahamas. However, the regulator has stated, or the law states, that if you do accept it, there are 2 levels of controls that need to be put in place. And one is that you get a letter of understanding from the holder of the shares, the nominee, and you get a letter of understanding from the beneficial owner. And both of those letters say that I hereby agree, and this letter is supposed to stand up in court. Before I transfer these shares, I will alert the bank, give the bank the opportunity to carry out due diligence on the new holder of the shares and allow an approval process to go on, right? Because what we found too, when we were just, after the law changed and we were cleaning up and the bearer share accounts, people just transferred, the bank didn't even know. You could transfer right on to Ben Laden or somebody outside of your appetite, right?
Wow.
And so there are 2 letters, they got a letters of undertaking, right? And then there's a nominee agreement that says Bullet & Co. holds these shares on behalf of Joey Dean. So those 3 pieces that you need to have in place. And again, it has to be documented somewhere.
Okay. Makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Anybody else? No, you're good. Okay, fine. And again, I just wanted you to have a visual. These are the type of things that there's, like I said, should be an AML person in compliance that deals with hits, onboarding, opening accounts, background checks, transaction monitoring. There should be somebody who deals with regulatory compliance. This would fall under regulatory compliance because these questionnaires, they don't take a day to answer, and especially that you have to have the source documents attached to this. Okay. Does your financial institution have enhanced due diligence requirements for high risk business, high risk clients, business relationships, or transaction in the context of KYC and ongoing monitoring? Yes. Where is it written, or what are the requirements? Okay. And this is very important, but it seems like every time you audit an institution, you have to go and get somebody to do this. They want to know the types of clients you have. Okay. They want to know number of clients, the total assets, number of legal persons, the value of the assets. And there's a document called an AML annual return that not all the banks have to send in the central bank. And this is the exact information that they require. So you have to know who's in your portfolio. Okay. And then they want to know.
Sorry, what's the difference between a natural person and a legal person?
A legal person would be the legal person on a company account. A natural person would probably be on an individual account. So legal persons would probably be like POAs, power of attorneys, and what have you. They would not necessarily be the beneficial owners. So Royal Bank opens an account with Scotia. We are not the owners of the shares, but we sign on Royal Bank's accounts because we are staff members. Right?
Okay.
So we would be, So then high risk and the percentage and non-profits and the percentage. And I think it further goes down to, they want an analysis too by countries. Okay. So the countries that you deal with, the number of clients and the total assets. Okay. So you have to ensure that your operations department has this information. And if they don't, you have to do it. And again, I still do it because I want to compare to make sure that we have the same information. Okay.
How often
So
is this survey sent out?
Again, this should be sent out based on how your institution is risk rated. So remember now, the law has just changed in 2018. And so in 2019, the AML risk assessment had to be completed by all FIs. And then by October in 2019, the enterprise-wide assessment had to be completed. So they call this like a thematic review. And this is just, everything is just going out to the industry, because remember now, the analytics department, they are new. All these laws are new, trying to implement all these things and hire people at the same time and train them and put them in place. So they're just moving towards getting it properly organized. So they sent this out to the entire industry. Okay. And so when you are risk rated, when your company is risk rated, you should have to review this annually if you're high risk and just sign off on it to say nothing has changed. Or if there is a material change, then you are to resubmit. You resubmit your risk assessment. But if you're medium, every 2 years, if you're low, every 3 years. So they are in the process of getting all that, established and ironed out. Okay. And then, do you consider the following risk factors when determining the risk of customers? And does your FI conduct risk assessments for the launch of a new product, the launch of a new business practice, the use of new and existing developing technologies, major events or developments in management, operation, and group? And when you say yes, they want to see the framework, or what do you do to test it? Okay, so like I say, this isn't I check the box. You have to prove every question. You have to prove. And this is 82 questions. So you have to have source documents for all 82, and sometimes it ain't like a 1-pager. Okay. So again, just so you would see why, and this should fall under risk. However, if your company does not have a risk department, then it falls on the compliance department. Okay, and like I said, you need it. Most companies, they only pay for the senior and a junior. You have to insist that I need at least 2 seniors, and the best thing to do is put metrics in place. You deal with AML, I deal with regulatory, you deal with risk. Yeah. Okay, so I just wanted so you can have a visual. Okay, any questions? No? Clear as mud. When this come across your desk and you're getting the compliance department, you're gonna know what to do.
I don't know what to do, but I still may call you.
Okay, okay. Sorry, I didn't hear you.
I was saying, if there's anything you must do is just source everything, cite everything.
Yeah, don't be like Miss Bullet Dog, but yes. And prove everything that you say, and you won't necessarily hold all this information. You have to go to finance, you have to go to HR, you have to go all over. You have to say, HR, give me a policy for background checks on employees. Let me see, it has to be submitted to the regulator. And then you have to make sure it makes sense. Okay. And then you have to check to see what they're doing, because they may ask you for an example. Because something that something where I send on to them, they say, give us all the CVs for the persons in your securities department. Some questionnaire I filled out, and I said, okay. So I went to HR and I said, I need all the CVs for the securities department. And then they came back, and like I said, they said there was insufficient experience or education in that department. And the last time, the series 7, once persons take it once, that's it. But there's a renewal, and if you work in the US or Canada, you have to go to your renewal dates and do updates. And so they said, this person needs a refresher course, that person needs, they have 18 months to complete a refresher course, or you'll have to hire somebody else. This person doesn't have sufficient, education or experience to be in this department. They have to take a course, or you have to hire somebody else. And that was the first time I'd seen that. Okay, and so far I've gotten that one each year. I've gotten that for a separate department. So there are a lot of functions, there are a lot of departments. The regulators and audit cannot check every single, so they have like an audit plan. And they check based on the high risk processes and functions or departments. And then they think, oh, we didn't look at bearer shares for a while, let's look at bearer shares. We didn't look at account opening, like that. So, a lot of people have this idea, oh, they ain't check us for a long time and they ain't to do this and that. They come in. Eventually, they're going to get their feet wet, and, so this is your time to prepare. So by the time they get to your department, you are fully educated, you have enough experience, and you have your, your training schedule or your professional development in place. Okay. Any questions or concerns? No? Okay. So I think I see some more persons here. Gibson Roll, did you receive my review sheet that I sent out today?
Yes, ma'am. I received it. I just saw it a few minutes ago before I logged on.
Okay, and you have a question?
I don't have a question as yet because I joined a bit late, so I'll have to go over the recording. And if I have a question, I'll just email you according to this chapter.
No, I mean on the review sheet. Your name is on the review sheet? No, right?
No, I got the review sheet.
Is your name on it?
Let me open it back up. Because I briefly saw it, but I didn't open it. I was trying to log into the class. Okay, yes, I did. My name is there with Devonia.
Oh,
hello.
Okay.
Yeah,
so yeah, because
number 3
you
with
know
Devonia.
you and out. Okay, yeah. Because see, I have some first names and then I don't. Okay, I just making sure. Okay, I know who you are now.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, good. Okay,
Miss Bullard, does it mean that we have to prepare answers for these questions for the review class?
Yeah, so you would think about what possible questions it'll be and just write 10 points regarding it. And remember, I said most of the questions may have 2 or 3 parts. So for instance, you and Patricia, first you will, give some points about 2 or 3 points about recommendation 1, and then you would go into the Basel methodology and what possible questions could be there. We want to understand the methodology and how it works. And then you want to research current local examples. So of course, we went over the national risk assessment in about 2 or 3 classes where we saw what came out from the industry, what we just showed, some of the questions.
Right.
Some of the local examples of what type of, what the industry or the regulators are looking for. Right in this opening, that letter that they sent, they tell you where they are at and what they are doing and why they are doing it.
Right.
Right. Yeah, and the update form. So when you go in the update form from the CFATF, you just put in risk and risk assessment should come up. And that's how you can say exactly where the Bahamas is.
Okay, I have another question. And this is in relation to the exam, the essay part. Does our answers have to have a local example attached to it?
If the question asks for Bahamas, then yes. If not, if it says explain,
Right.
I always have an example. This the best way to prove your understanding is through example. So
Okay.
explain and then put examples.
Joshua?
Yeah, to prove your understanding. But if it asks for Bahamas, then Bahamas. I'm not certain if domestic terrorism that would have been an intro. Yeah. Normally for domestic, we use the US too for domestic, as we've only had a few cases, but yeah, that's intro.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Yeah. Okay, so chapter 9, who y'all very quiet. So y'all tell me, was y'all would have read chapter 9 and what did you get it from the 2 pages? It's very, very short and sweet. What do we gather from what was the takeaway from cooperation with enforcement authorities?
That if there is, sorry.
No, you can go ahead.
Oh, if there is a suspicious transaction or a suspected suspicious transaction, then the money laundering reporting officer ought to file an STR with the financial intelligence unit. And then as that unit investigates the report, then the institution must wait before they approve the transaction. And they cannot, sorry, please excuse my son. And they cannot make the customer or the client aware that a STR has been filed.
Okay, because of course you don't want to tip off.
Right.
Correct?
Right.
Yeah, so you have to be aware of tipping off. And also a major problem in the past was failing to disclose again. Person to say, the person testifying again, walking out of court with me and there's no protection. And so, or this is above my pay grade. And so a lot of persons did not, they failed to disclose. Okay, and so, but again, if you work in a financial institution in your onboarding, you were signing and all those papers that they give you on the first day and say read and we never read, you were signing that you understand failing to disclose and tipping off. Okay, and those papers will be sent to court to say and then you are trained annually that tells you that this is what you agreed to. Okay, so very good.
But what I'm through reading through this, my question would be, between getting the request, letting the FIU involved, do they come back as quickly? Because they're saying you cannot do the transaction until you get consent from the FIU. Do they respond quickly?
No, in the past, they've never responded. Okay. And now what you do is you pick up the phone, you call them and you said, listen, Ms. Bullitt wants to make a transaction. What should I do? Now the protection of the institution is, if I know at Royal Bank, if you look at the terms and condition at the back of the signature card, it tells you that Royal Bank has the right to hold your funds for 3 days without reason, so you must give them 3 days, 3 business days to release any transaction to you. Now, in my days, we have never had to use that, but we find a reason. We normally say, oh, it did not make the cutoff time. No, what a lot of persons are saying, we talked about this already, is a compliance issue, right? And so that's a form of tipping off. And so we want to, train our staff to never use compliance, or compliance has stopped that, or compliance has to, approve. We want to stop that in our terminology. But your institution should have something documented in one of those terms and conditions that says that they have the right to hold the funds for a few days. Now, Nobody, you know, in account opening, nobody ever asked, nobody ever discussed that, but it's there. Okay, so go back to your institution and find out how many days are you allowed to, by law, or right off the bat, to hold this transaction, you know, without reason. And so your institution has to come up with a way to explain to the customer that we're unable to do this transaction, it will be processed tomorrow. Oh, sorry, you missed the cutoff line. We promise it'll go out, and in, you know, then you go ahead. And normally when I've been calling and I said, hey, he wants this money, the small amounts they allow, they say, okay, he wants, because we deal with high network, so anything over 100,000 would be alarming. So I say he wants $50,000, and say, okay, fine, he can have that. But no, like with the tax evasion case, with IRS says, you know, he could have had like 20,000 or 10,000, because he kept saying, oh, I'm operating a business, they're doing this, they're trying to shut me down. And so they did allow him 10 or 20,000, but like I said, he had 10 million, they took 6 million and he got 3 in the end. Right, so they do work with you. And if they say, well, no, that means they're going to arrest or infiltrate at you know, within 24 hours. So they say, like, we'll be picking him up tomorrow, don't worry about that transaction, or something to that effect, they'll tell you. Okay, so you want to call them. You want to always be personable. You want to give them as much information as what they ask for, and you want to cooperate. However, you still have a duty of confidentiality to your customer, okay, under the Bankers and Trust Act. I think it's section 77. Okay, and so that duty, if they say that, Miss Bullitt, we want to investigate transaction number 2 on this particular date for 17,000, that's the only transaction you give them. You don't give them the whole file. You don't go and print out a statement for the month of October and you send all that information. You only give them what is relevant to the you know, investigation. If there's more that is relevant to the investigation, then you give that to them. But you have to cooperate and maintain your duty of confidentiality to your client. Okay, is that understood? I know, what did you say to cooperate, but you're saying only give them what's necessary. I'm just saying it's easy to pull out the entire file and say, here, I file you. Okay, because let's look at the question. Let's look at the question on the classwork. I think I have it up. I had it up, oh, let me pull it up, the classwork. Where is it, the classwork? How would we handle this? And I'll just tell you a story about how it was handled, because this actually happened. So this is how this became classwork, because this actually happened to Miss Bullitt. Okay, well, can somebody read chapter 9's question for me?
The receptionist calls your regulator, the director of the FIU, and the commissioner of police is in the lobby of your firm requesting to see the MLRO. They have a warrant and want to carry out an inspection based on the SCR you filed regarding a PEP account. A, what are your next steps? How would you balance cooperation with law enforcement and maintain client confidentiality? C, a staff member of your firm is implicated in the investigation and they also have a warrant for his arrest. What are your next steps?
Okay, and so I may have told you all this story in intro. And again, I was working, let me not call the company's name here, but you all know where I was working. And the police showed up and they said, we have a warrant for arrest of one of your staff members. I told the people in the intro this story already.
Yes, you did. I don't remember the story.
I don't remember.
Patricia, you don't remember? Okay.
I don't remember.
Yeah, so they showed up and they said, we have a warrant for one of your staff members for arrest. And we said, okay, can we see the warrant, please? and they produced the warrant. So we said, okay, we can take you over to our office. And we said, we want to avoid as much reputational risk as possible. Can y'all do this as quietly? Like we said, can you not handcuff him? Can you just walk him out? Can you not turn on the siren? And we don't want to alarm the rest of the staff. And they said, we'll do our best to accommodate you. They said, are we allowed to go in the back and bring him out and give us about 10 minutes to explain to him what's happening? And we promise that, we will hand him over to you. So, they said, well, you're putting yourself in a position where you will be arrested if he escapes, I said, I don't think he's going to escape, and so I went to the managing director, we called him in and we said, well, the police is out there, with a warrant for your arrest. Would you know why? And of course, he was fired a few years earlier, about 5 years earlier, from a company for insider trading. And apparently they must have known about this because they, had to do a background check. But again, this would have been prior to 2018. And so perhaps they didn't do a proper background check or, friends, lovers, and family. And so he was hired even though he was out on bail. And so we said, would you like to resign? And he said, yes, I would. And so we gave him a pen and a paper and he wrote a resignation right there. And we said, okay, take care, best of luck. And we handed him over to the police. So they walked him downstairs. And when they got downstairs, they handcuff him. They turn on the siren. They drive around the parking lot 3 times with the siren. So everybody in the institution was like glued. And thank God this was just before, like, everybody used to record everything. But people were there recording and what have you. And we had to tell the staff, get back to your desk, and blah, blah, blah. And you're not to be involved with the police and blah, blah, blah. And so that was my experience. And so a few years later, I saw him downtown and I said, hey, how are you? How are things? And he said, I said, how did the case go? And he is like, well, it wasn't a crime at the time that I committed it, even though I did commit it, it wasn't a crime on our books at the time. So I'm free, I got off. So I said, oh, wow, congratulations and blah, 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 whatever. And he's like, yes, I'm having a party and whatever. And I want to invite you all. And I said, yeah, man, come to your party. So we went to his party. It was nice. We had a great time. And he was our colleague and our co-worker, and he was a free man because he had Lucille as his lawyer, and he won on a technicality. It wasn't on the books at the time he committed, so he got off free. And so he later on, I see he was being hauled across, he got another position in the government, and I saw him being hauled across the court for bribery and corruption just recently. And so I said, well, that's what happened. So yeah, okay, but we could not tell the FIU, he wasn't there. Like I say again, we wanted to avoid the reputational risk, and then at that point we did not know what the outcome of his charge, which he did win his case. However, HR's policy is if you are charged or whatever, I mean, I'm certain if he didn't get into any more trouble and he had won his case, whoever hired him the first time, knowing that he was out on bail, would have hired him again. I was like, oh, he can come right back to work. But luckily he went to the government, Ministry of Finance, and he's been hauled across the courts again. Yeah, with the Ministry of Finance. So I don't know if he's innocent again or if he's going to win this case, but yeah, that was my experience. Okay. And so again,
can I ask you a question?
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
And this is just me being nosy. In that instance, why would you have given him the opportunity to resign?
We call legal.
Pardon?
And
oh,
we call legal. And legal did tell us that he, they do have a file on him, and what he did is not it's a US crime. So they said, to try and handle it in a diplomatic way as possible. And again, as the MLRO, it's going to be decision-based. And so we tried to be diplomatic about it. It could be us any day being held before the courts, God forbid. And so that's just the way we handle it,
Would you have given him
Um,
a good recommendation?
Would I have given him a good recommendation?
Yeah, or your company, because you're saying let him resign. It wasn't a crime in this country. Would you have given him a good recommendation?
No, I wouldn't.
Oh, okay.
That doesn't mean he's not afraid. Still my coworker and my colleague. Still, but I wouldn't give him any recommendation at all. And again, that's just how the law works. It was not a crime on the books at the time. And so he could go back and sue that company that fired him. And I think, which he did.
Mm.
Okay, so you have to be careful,
Careful,
and your
yeah.
company has to be careful. And so he could have come back and sued us. But luckily, Royals Bank's policy had that if you are accused, they didn't even have charge. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Because if they didn't have that documented, he could have sued them. And that's just how it works. That's wrongful dismissal, because your policy should state that is your policy. And then you should have never hired him if that was the case.
Right. Right.
Correct?
I'm
Right.
just,
Correct.
cu-
So
Ms. Biani- oh, sorry.
go ahead.
I'm just curious though, because like, I know you said, after he was dismissed from your firm, and even after he went through his court case, he would have won his court case, and then he later on moved to a different organization, I guess, in a higher place. Like, I'm just curious to know, like, because he was already hauled before the court for an existing, a crime as like as serious as that, like, do you think like that company would have hired him after y'all would have been like deemed not doing their best background search properly to hire him again? He had a record.
This Patricia, right? This Patricia?
No, the
That's
Shakira.
Patricia? Oh,
Shakira.
Shakira. Edison Sumner. Need I say more?
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Do you know who Edison
Okay.
Sumner is?
Yes.
Do you know who
No.
Edison Sumner is? Okay. Is he employed? Have he not sat on boards along with the person who banned him for 10 years? Have persons not spoken out and said he does not need to be removed from the board, and so he remained?
Can he just
So
been on
only people
TV a
could
couple of
agree.
weeks ago? I guess all of that is
Sorry?
all about connections.
That's like good
Only people could
networking.
It's the connections and the
Only-
networking.
Only
Yeah.
poor people go
jail.
to jail. Only people without a network is ostracized. Okay? This is why I'm sending you out to the networker. Go and meet the people in Toastmasters. Go and meet the people in Kiwanis. They are the movers and shakers. Adrian Fox was charged with human trafficking. One of the priests from the Anglican Church wrote a recommendation to the United States government on his behalf and say what a good philanthropist he is. And he is. The Prime Minister wrote a letter after the US had said, we want the Bahamas to know that he's a fugitive. Right? Only poor people and people without a network go to jail. So you decide if you want to increase your revenue streams and get to know some people, put some people in your network. Correct?
Yes,
Correct.
ma'am.
Shakira, what say you?
I say yes, so I understand. I'm really laughing at
Y'all say Miss Bullet just go be going south and saying all these things, and she don't know what she's talking about. I know what I'm talking about. We have proof. Because he got charged with insider trading and the Royal Bank of Canada hired him. Okay, then the Bahamas government hired him. How? 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 And you could put his name in Google and it pops up. That ain't no crime on our books, man. Y'all can't hold that against that man. That's an honorable man. Yeah, he had a great body. He's a good friend.
It was a
And when
good
you have the
party, Miss
head of the
Bullen.
church on your side, sorry?
It was a good party, Miss Bullen.
Man, we had fun. The best food, best drinks. So all of the Ministry of Finance money. Top shelf. We dance all night.
Hi,
Yep.
Ms. Bullet. Good night, everyone. Good night, everyone.
Good.
Ms. Bullet, did I miss a whole lot?
No, you can listen to the recording and you'll catch
Okay,
up.
okay. Okay, I will. Thank you.
Yeah, you got the review sheet, right?
No, I just joined because I had to go to the hospital to pick up my husband.
Okay, check your email.
Okay, I'll check the email.
Okay, good.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
Okay. And so this is why I'm saying, go to your institutions and understand what systems you have to help you with transaction monitoring. Go and ask, are these names being scanned every night? They probably won't tell you the process for, staff members unless you're in compliance. But, what type of review are they doing in background checks? Okay, and how often? Is it only done when the staff is hired? How often are they reviewed? Okay. And again, like I say, in my career, in the last 25 years, it was always my friend, somebody very close to me, somebody, my best worker, who was stealing. Okay, and the same people that you drop home and go to lunch with every day. Okay, when the FIU shows up, what do you do? Okay, and so read the terms and conditions. Where does it say right of consent? Where express consent, sorry. Where does the documentation allow you to go and share this information with the FIU or with the correspondent bank or with your parent company in Canada or in Switzerland? A lot of documentation does not have express consent on it. And so you don't have you are in breach of confidentiality to your client. Luckily, the law says that the FTRA trumps the Bankers and Trust Act, right? However, you are still required to have it. And like I said, last year I worked with a bank that was closing out and they wanted us to share information, but their forms, they've been operating for the last 25 years. Their forms do not have express consent. And whilst they were sharing information back and forth, I had to keep saying, listen, you need to get consent. So look at your forms for express consent. Look at your forms to see if you are allowed to hold the money for 3 days, 4 days a week, 48 hours, 30 days. One company had, we are allowed to hold this money for 30 days. Okay. But you want to cooperate, but you have to maintain the confidentiality. Sorry, go ahead. Somebody was saying something.
Yes, that's me. So in response to the question that was on what says, what was your next step for that scenario you gave earlier? So
okay,
as an MLRO, your next step, would you go and consult the legal department for your organization first, just to figure out like how would you handle that client, that person, and then still file an FTR?
I always bring in the legal and then the CEO. If it isn't against the CEO, then I bring in legal because, and a lot of persons like say, well, I am the MLRO and I'm making the decision. Yeah, fine, but are you a lawyer? Do you know the law? And you have to be very careful. And so immediately, you put them into a room, you want to be very welcoming. You say the secretary will get you tea and coffee and donuts if you have there, and you go into a back office and you call legal. This is the situation. What should I do? Can you go on a conference call? Because you want to have a witness to the conversation. And in that first conversation, you let them talk, you let them produce. This is your production order. This is your disclosure order. How long do I have to produce? How much time before, and they normally say within 24 hours, so you can buy some time, but don't be hasty. Get as much information as possible, and then you just ask, can I share this with legal, or can I have some time to share with legal? And more than likely they will say yes. I don't know if you remember, on Prince Charles, there's this Robin Hood, and they were charged with what was it, customs duty fraud, and they went into Robin Hood, and they took all of their computer machines right on the spot. So they had no time to call legal and no time to, do whatever. And so they confiscated the machines as evidence, but they would have had to have a warrant to do that. Okay, so normally if it
So-
isn't against the institution as a whole, it's against a customer or employee, you can buy some time to let the institution, remember now, independent of the business. The business makes the decision, you just make sure that it's in compliance with the law. Okay, so only where the business is saying, oh no, we ain't giving no information and this and that, and next thing, no, they provided a production order, they provided a warrant, they provided, you know what I mean? But
So,
other
Ms.
than that, you
Bullard,
let the
I
business
think
make those decisions.
I heard you said as long as it's not against the CEO, you can tag the legal department. What if it has something to do with the CEO?
Okay, so that should be handled directly with the regulator. Okay, if it's against the CEO or the board,
that's a perfect.
somebody reported the CEO to the board, and I said, let me talk directly to the regulator, and that person was, like I say, removed, and so you have to be very, very careful. You are not the police. You are to do an internal investigation, and you will find that when you are investigating, a lot of things go missing, and so if the files are not turned off already in your company, and when I mean turn off, there should be a document control room where there's a policy that says only compliance, and the persons that work in the document control room are allowed to hold files. The files should be viewed online or in the document control room, and nobody's really allowed in the document control room. And so you should be able to stand to the document control room door and look at the file and then leave it. But the files can be kept by anybody in the institution. I had to go to Royal Bank Miami and do a training because some persons were fired. They walked out the door with the files. Then somebody put the files through the shredder. So I had to go there to do a training to turn off the document control room and encourage everybody to go online to review documents. Okay, so it depends on how the setup in your institution is, and you'll find that things just go missing. So if you don't already have that turned off, and you go to the document control room and you say, may I please have Miss Oughton's file, and you keep that photo, you better make a second copy and keep that locked away in your drawer.
So,
You'll find that that'll disappear as well. Sorry?
So when the policeman would have already came to your firm and they asked you, after you would already consult with legal or your CEO was not, by this time, I heard you say production orders, by this time, the STR has already been filed with FIU, right? Because I assume they produced the production orders, right?
Correct.
No, the court does it. And so I guess whatever information would have been passed on with them would go directly to the police and they would come to you.
Yeah. Well, if you file the STR, in their response, they send you a production order and they ask you, like for the KYC, the copy of the transaction or what led to this suspicion. Once they would have reviewed that, then they say they pass it on to the police to investigate, because the police, they have a division of the police that deals directly with financial crime. Okay, and the police would then investigate and decide if they could pick these people up or how they are going to handle it. With my co-worker, they could have gone to his house that night. They didn't have to come to his shop. And obviously it was intentional because they drove around the parking lot 5 times, like, alerting that the police is here, the police is here, the police is here. So they obviously wasn't working with us,
Who filed for that charge though? Because if y'all was aware when y'all consulted with legal that that was not on the books, then how was he able to get arrested? Like, shouldn't someone just say, well, no crime was committed because this is not on the books? So
If he didn't have to seal, he would have been in jail, miss. Okay. To seal and if unless the judge would have said, I don't know. He probably would have been in jail.
But I mean, like,
Okay.
if it ain't on the books, it ain't on the books. Y'all can't arrest me for a crime I committed.
You can't find that in the bank. You gotta find that in court.
No, but I say
But
y'all
let
arrest
me-
me
let
for
me
a
tell you-
crime. Like, what is an offense in the United States? I'm not in the United States. Are y'all gonna extradite me?
But let me tell you, there's a lot of Canadian law that the banks are trying to enforce that are not holding up in court. Just like Royal Bank says, if you want to add somebody to the account, it has to be joined with right of survivorship. That's not Bahamian law. That's Canadian law. If you go into Royal Bank, they tell you that's their internal policy. But if somebody pass away, you could take that to court and win because that's Canadian law. Is Royal Bank not still enforcing it? Yes, they are. Okay. So their compliance officer should be saying, and their legal, I'm sure they have legal, should be saying that we cannot put this in as a policy because this won't hold up in court, but that's what it is. That's how it is. Okay, so, I didn't really make the rules and write the law, but again, if you know, like I say, this is so easy on a technicality. Okay, so
Ms. Butler,
when you get a lawyer, you read along with that lawyer.
Ms. Butler,
You help you win this case.
Ms. Butler.
Go ahead, Patricia.
In an incident like that, would the MLRO be alerted? Like, would the FI, if the SDR started at that bank, it may not have been, but wouldn't the MLRO been aware that something was in the pipeline?
You said if it started where?
If the SDR was created in that bank, wouldn't the MLRO
Yeah,
be aware that this was about
Yeah.
to happen?
Yeah, only the MLRO can send an SDR. So she would know, or he would know, that she filed an SDR and she's waiting on a response from
the FIU?
From the FIU, like today. If that was in, let me just say, that was in 2:50-ish. Today, if that person is, this would happen. There was somebody who was implicated, okay, the Julius Baer case. Julius Baer closed down because of their Venezuelan book, The Reputational Risk and what have you. The guy who testified, who spilled his guts and spending 10 years in jail, he implicated some employees at Ansbacher and, let me not call out the name, of 2 other banks. An institution hired one of those persons who were implicated. The compliance officer said, this person is in the news, or this is a newspaper clipping. It did not call the person's name, but this is who it is. The institution said, oh, this is a good salesperson. We need this person, blah, 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 blah. The MLRO said, I cannot agree because this person has negative media. The institutions still said that, well, we are going to hire this person. The MLRO filed an SDR and alerted the central bank. The central bank came back and said, while we are aware of the reputational and the negative media, This person has not been charged yet. And so therefore, if the institution wants to hire this person, it's to their, it's the decision is up to them. The FIU said this person is also being investigated by the US government. We would not recommend that this person be hired. However, we cannot enforce because this person has not been charged. Okay, and so institution hired this person came and was not effective at all, whatever, and that bank is one step away from being closed down. But they've lasted long because this was in, I would say, 2019, 20, but yeah, there's been two years and the person's still surviving. So, who will be? So again, you have to decide whether or not this company's appetite is within your appetite now. Okay? Stuff like that primarily does not happen in the Canadian banks. Canadian banks are much more conservative. The Swiss banks, yeah, they don't believe in law. They don't believe, they believe that they are smarter than the regulators and they take a lot of risk. So it's just the culture of the institution. And again, this is only what Ms. Bullard feels. This is my own perception from my own experience. Other persons may have other experiences. So don't hold what I say as gospel based on my, my view may be very limited. I might be, I might be as exposed as I should be. So, yeah. Okay, so then you be very careful when you see these things happening, and then you decide and this is why you have your revenue streams, because you can't worry about the school fees and you can't worry about your mortgage being paid. You should have your 5 revenues that generating income on the side. So you could walk away from these jobs if they're outside of your appetite. Okay. You're very, very quiet. Pecan, I didn't hear from you all night. You there? Are you awake?
Hi, yes, I'm here.
Hello?
I'm
You
here.
there?
Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, give me some feedback, please.
It's too much information for me, so I'm trying to understand and keep everything in mind.
Okay, but you do understand
Yes.
how
yes,
to
I am.
cooperate with the
Oh,
authorities, and you do understand some of the risks involved and some of the challenges that happen with the cooperation.
Yes, I understand.
Okay. Okay, great.
Thank you.
Any questions from the chapter?
Ms.
Bullard,
Bullard,
I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, when it says the company must await receipt of consent, right? What does they mean by receipt of consent from the FIU?
Meaning, like, remember the time when I said on my Facebook page, I saw this name, Talinda Gibson Roll, and I was like, know this name from, I went to my system and I put your name in and you popped up, and yeah, you was being charged in your country with embezzlement and money laundering, right? And so when I looked at the account, I saw that person, let's say, had $5 million, and you could see the money just being wired out the bank. So $5 million, and it was increasing within the last year, but within this last month, I see $1 million being wired here, $2 million going there. And so by the time I got the account and could block it, it was only like 2 million left out of 5 million. So you will see that they are trying to get the money out of the bank as fast as possible and put it under somebody else's name because they know it's going to be frozen. So you will send 2 million to Joey, send 2 million to Patricia, 1 million to Alfreda, and say, hold this until I get through this case, till I win this case. Right? And so this is what the FIU is saying. Once you file the SDR, give us the opportunity to investigate and pick this person up first. If they ask you to transfer money out, call us. We'll let you know. We'll try to pick them up so we can stop the transaction. Because you will see they try to wire the money out as quick as possible.
Also, Ms. Bullet, the last paragraph in the same chapter where it says, you can't tip the customer off. If I come to make a withdrawal and an STR was filed on me and my account or whatever, but I come to make a transaction, a withdrawal, what would you do? What would they tell me?
I would go and pull your signature card and I would say, let's read the terms and condition at the back of your signature card. The bank is authorized, blah, blah. I say you signed this at opening about 10 years ago, so you may have not remembered this. You know, your institution has to come up with words other than compliance, investigating, and, you know, and without tipping off the person. So your institution has to come up with what would we tell the customer? You did not meet the processing timelines for the day. The correspondent bank has not processed it as yet. We'll follow up with them. These transactions primarily take 3 days, something. But move away from saying compliance. Compliance block it, compliance investigating, the compliance needs some more information. Compliance have to approve.
I have a question.
You know, then you have people saying, let me speak to compliance. Go ahead, Rosalind.
How do I walk into a bank to withdraw money that I know I have on my account and someone tell me I can't get it? How does that happen?
Open the account? When did you read the terms and conditions? That's what I said. Go to your institution.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is
read the terms and conditions
whatever
where
the
you
terms
work.
and
I'm sure you have an
conditions is.
account there. But you sign and say you agree. That's how. You have an account to the institution where you work, because that's where you get your salary. Go read the terms and conditions and see if they can block your salary for a minimum of 3 days. Your institution may say 30. So go, that's why I said, go and read. Go and look for express consent. That means they can share information without picking up the phone and calling you and saying, I need to share this information with the parent or whatever. But like I say, a lot of forms are deficient. They are outdated. They haven't been updated. So look right in the corner of the forms and see what the version date is. If it's a 2003 or anything before 2018, they ain't updated and they don't have all these clauses in it. Like I say, most institutions and most people are reactive. They're not proactive. So something has to happen. Something has to go wrong. They have to be fined before they make these changes, because it costs a lot of money to repaper and then to repaper all the customers. Right? But primarily, forms should expire after 10 years. Do we repaper? No, we don't.
Good night, Ms. Bullet.
Go read yours, Rosalind, and tell me what it says, okay? Come back and tell me how many days.
First thing tomorrow, I'm going to read it. Because I've never heard of it. And I know we've had instances where when I work as a teller, clients come in there and they want to withdraw money from their account. And it's like, I've never seen a manager tell a client, we have the rights to hold your money. It's if the customer start cussing and going on, they're getting their money.
We don't say we have the right. We don't say we have the right. We just need sufficient time to call the FIU. We don't say nothing. We call in the background, somebody calling the FIU and the FIU asking how much they want to withdraw, what the balance is. Yeah, you could give them $100. You could give them 10,000 if the balance is 100,000, because you don't want to alert them.
That's what happens.
And that's what I'm trying to understand, because if I know I have $40,000 in my account, and I want to withdraw $39,000. How are you gonna prolong me from getting that? What reason you gonna give me to say, well, you can't give me this money?
If it was Royal Bank, I will pull out the signature card that you signed when you open that account that says Royal Bank has 3 days to provide this to you.
Child, I
Then I
can't
can tell you the check printer breakdown, and we have to do this, and the second signature in here, and you have to come back, and we can deliver this check to you. We ain't gonna
Okay.
go off.
I think that a lot of people just don't want to deal with the fact that you start to carry on bad. So that's when the man just step and be like, just give them their money. Like, you nobody got time. When you
Okay,
start
just give
acting up
them their
and
money.
cursing out the tellers and
Go give them their money and go to jail then.
That's
Go
the
ahead.
question I have a question. Good night, Ms. Bullitt. I have a question. Have a bank ever went continue to proceed with transaction even though they didn't got a consent from FIU? Have a bank in the Bahamas ever done that?
I mean, I have sent on the retail side, I said, listen, I called, you all did not get back to me, and therefore I approved the transaction. That's what I tell them. I said it was only for $1,000, $9,000 was still left, so I approved. But you must, but they are better now than they were years ago, and since the law has changed, so they are very responsive. You could pick up the phone and call them, or you send them an email and they respond right away.
Okay. Even though
But how does that work with online banking?
okay.
Sorry?
How does that work with online banking? If I want to transfer $10,000 from my account,
They go in the system. That's if you have an SDR, that's turned off. And they will let you call the 1-800 number and hold on and try to get that fixed 100 times.
I experienced that a week ago with my online banking. I couldn't make a transfer for nothing.
Okay. And then ATM should be blocked and everything, and it forces you to come into the bank, and we are trying to investigate and trying to find out, and we do the best to help you.
So thanks for that information, Ms. Bullitt. Now we know why some persons that stay at the teller, they're so long holding up the line. They probably be doing their investigation.
Yeah, and so a lot of people have just walked, FDRs have been filed, and people have just walked out the bank with all the money. And so that's why the FIU is more responsive. But again, the institution can make a decision. If they call and they get proof that they call in the FIU, or they send the email and the person is there and the person is getting irate, the manager makes a decision. But immediately, like I say, I don't know if you all remember Kevin, the white major.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was the one that was found with the 800,000 in her purse. Right. No, and she had gotten it out of safety deposit box or whatever. So yeah, every bank gave them a check. And the day she came in to withdraw, I presented her with a check, and she said, no, I need cash. I say, sorry, dear. You're gonna have to negotiate this at another bank. We can't cash it. She said, what's going on? I said, I have no idea. They left this check on my desk for you because they know you normally come in. And she said, okay. And when she went to Scotia, they gave her a check, and Bank of the Bahamas gave her a check. So she ended up with 5 checks. And so then she came back to me and she said, well, everybody gave me a check. So I said, well, you know what? Let me call the manager. And she said, oh, I thought you would. I said, no, like customer service, you could talk to the manager alone. And the manager alone said, let me call the CEO. You could. She said, no, I want a managing director. I want to see him. And so she said, I'm coming up there. We call him on the phone. We said, she's coming up here to see you. And she went up there to see him, and he said, let me call the governor of the central bank. And that's how that happened. And that was even way before the establishment of, the FIU being the laws being changed and what have you. That had to be in 2008-ish, early 2007 when that happened. So that's what they did. The central bank had sent down with the FIU that every bank must give them a check.
Excuse me, Ms. Bullard.
So I don't know what happened with the checks now.
They still
Go
did it.
ahead.
One quick question. So something like that, where, you know, like the person, well, we know them to be like known drug dealers. Would that fall underneath the terrorism financing?
That's money laundering.
Or that's just
No
straight
money
money
laundering.
laundering?
Yeah, because remember, 21 crimes under money laundering and drug dealing is one.
Okay.
Money laundering.
Right.
All right.
And so this was before she was charged. Before she went to jail, she used to come to the bank at least twice a week, you know, and sit in my office and have a long conversation and everything. Yeah,
Miss
she was a
Bullard.
very nice lady.
Miss
Okay.
Bullard.
Yes.
Hello. Good night. How are you?
Hi. Good. How are you?
I'm good. I came on extremely late, but you were talking about Kevin and Dwight Major just now. You mentioned her going to different banks and them giving her checks. This was what, closing out her accounts? What were these checks for?
Yeah, so they closed out her account and they gave her a check. And so basically every bank had blocked her out. And
Oh,
so she ended up with, say, 4 or 5 checks.
okay.
But like I say, this was before the law became stringent and, you know what I mean? And that was
Okay.
their way of de-risking her out of the financial service sector. And then she, I guess whatever other cash she had, that's what she was walking around with when they found her with the 800,000. And then he went to jail and she went to jail. And I think she got a lighter sentence and they let her out. But I'd never seen her since she's come out of jail, but I used to see her, she's coming to the bank all the time, twice a week.
So she was
Went to
able
law
to cash
school.
those checks then?
I don't know. I don't know what happened, but like I say, she had 4 or 5 checks, would probably totaled up to like $8-9 million.
So are
What?
you saying that the bank would call her just to say that we need you to come in, we're closing your account? Is that what
I didn't
happened?
call her. No, I didn't call her. The managing director called me and they said, you know, they was like, Ms. Bullard, your customer. I said, my customer? They said, well, we from the video that we see, she comes to your office at least twice a week. I said, just because she thinks she's a VIP and not that I'm inviting her, and you know. And so they said, well, anyway, we've been authorized to close out her account, and you know, the banks are gonna be doing the same, but you can tell her she can negotiate it at another bank. So I said, but she's gonna come right back to me. And they said, okay, well, then she'll have to come and see me. And so she came, I said, I'm sorry. I didn't say appetite, I said the bank has produced this check and your accounts are closed. And she said, what? But I come here every day. I said, I know. And I said, they gave me no reason. And so she said, that's strange. I was like, in my mind, is it? Weren't you just on the TV for $800,000 in cash? It's like, how is it? Are you not on bail? Like, you know, but so she said, so I could like just take this to like Scotia or CIBC and they'll negotiate. I say they should. And when she went there, they gave her a check and everybody gave her a check. So then she came back to me with all the checks and she said, so what am I supposed to do? I have kids and I have businesses and blah, blah, blah. I said, I don't know. I said, I don't know what's wrong with these people, but you know what? Let me let you talk to the manager of the one. She's like, how could she have? I said, but I just don't know. They're not giving me any information. So then she said, I want to see the managing director. I said, sure, right away.
So you get that off your hands.
Yeah, I was like, girl, take care of yourself. And it was a pleasure. And, you know, let me know how it goes.
So what would have
But
happened to their monies in your bank?
we put it into a check. Now,
right.
Central Bank gets unclaimed funds. They don't get, we have a lot of checks that have, you know, are just stale dated. So I think that money was accepted by central bank, because I don't remember it staying there to be stale dated. I think they handled that specifically. Because like I said, that was back in 2007, 2008-ish, when the FIU wasn't properly established. It wasn't, the law wasn't even in place. And so that's what happened back then.
So how would I get my money? Because y'all writing me a check, but I can't cash the check anywhere else. So how
Right,
do
you
I
can't.
get
That's what
Right.
I'm thinking. Like, why would you
I
write a check knowing that this amount can't be cashed anywhere else?
call me and
Yeah.
tell me, Miss Dan, bring your briefcase or your duffel bag, and I would politely pick my money up.
Well,
But don't give me a
that was
check.
their
How do I get
strategy
the
then.
money?
So I don't know, of course, she got a freezing order and all these different orders. And do you remember just recently somebody gone to jail because they say they knocked down the Treasury building and they found $800,000?
Yes.
You all heard
Oh
that
yeah,
story?
yeah.
I heard
Yeah.
about that.
I believe if somebody didn't steal that, that would have had to been her $800,000 that they got out of the safety deposit box when they arrested her. That had to be her, because where else
Ah,
the $800,000 come from? And do
because
you
the
know what
figure
happened with that
resembles.
guy?
Yeah.
He found $800,000 in the old building and went to the central bank, because some of the, must see $1,000 out of it was the bills that were torn and
That's when you're
mutilated.
being greedy,
So he
man. You're
went to
being
the,
greedy at that point.
yes, yes. You find
Only
$800,000. Nobody know you find it. Nobody said missing.
You're being
And
greedy.
you go down to central bank talking about then he exchanged $1,000 of mutilated bills.
I was throwing that away. That 1,000 was gone.
Yes. So I
I
believe
can only.
unless somebody was stealing that money, that would have been her $800,000. So obviously in the trial, I didn't follow the case. Obviously in the trial, he got extradited and they confiscated that money. And so central bank probably has that 8 or 9 million plus this $800,000 in cash that she had in either Royal or Commonwealth Bank, Cable Beach safety deposit box. When
They
they
had
arrested her.
they had liquid asset of $9 million.
Throughout the banks.
Wow. Okay.
How did they allow them to
Throughout the
deposit
bank.
all of that cash though?
I didn't hear you.
How did they, knowing that they were drug dealers, how did they get to deposit all that cash on those different accounts?
She used to bring me checks that were for crawfish and boat this and boat that, and every day she had a check.
I just was going to say,
For,
and they had other businesses,
Okay.
right?
So they were
Yeah, they had
cleaning the money.
businesses.
They were cleaning the money.
cleaning the money,
Yeah,
right?
they was
And then
just
they was-
filtering it through the
they was-
bank.
Right,
I
and
don't
they
think
was
the
billing
process
out.
was as stringent as it is now.
No,
Because
No,
now
it
some things were
wasn't
being
all these
relaxed.
laws.
Yeah.
Because remember, it was just on cash. So she never bought cash. She always bought checks.
Checks.
To say, she said, oh, we building a hotel in Long Island, and this person pay and that person pay, and I sold this amount of crawfish to Bahamas Food Service, and all sorts of stuff. So there was no question surrounding checks. So we always deposited the checks. Now, where she get this 800,000 cash from? Like, she had that in the safety deposit. And again, that's why safety deposit boxes are considered high risk, because the bank has a key and the customer has a key, and you walk out of the room and you allow them to go in there privately. They could have guns, ammunition, or any type of weapon, and cash in there. And I do believe some of our customers had cash. But she definitely had it, So, yeah. So that's why they're considered so high risk, and a lot of banks are just moving away from that.
I just found it so hard that he could just come to the bank and just bring money that was just old. I think by then, I think maybe currency would probably do like a background check and just look at the cash transaction numbers, like the serial numbers on the money. And I'm just thinking of methods they would have used to actually think of how that was like old money. And when possibly that's probably how they call the police and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, they didn't know what happened until I guess they locked him up, and then he said, or he might even tell you, these people is just talk, you know. Somebody might have said, well, where you get this mutilated money from, or what happened to this money? And he might have said, man, I can tell you, but nobody, you know, I find this money in its old treasury building or something like that. And poof, give itself away. But somehow they found out. Yeah.
Ms. B, I have a question. So I'm just curious to know when an MLR or when they come file a complaint an ST report, is there any fees associated with that when filing them?
No.
Oh.
No, it's a requirement by law. So can't charge the people for, you know. I mean, at the end of the year, if the account is closed and the court say they freezing the money and the money is to be paid to them, like how this the IRS was saying, do not pay this man out this money, and then they said we do not know the amount. However, you know, they let him get 50,000, they let him get 100,000 and stuff like that, and then they told us 6 million for them and 3 million for him, and we said okay. Before we sent him that 3 million, they said, come now, let's calculate the administrative cost to deal with the IRS. The bank had to stay open for a week, test to process it, to this and that and next thing. And so they came up with a figure, they documented, and they probably took $40,000 or $50,000 and sent them the difference. So it's just up to your institution, because again, that was back and forth. And like I said, the IRS is very demanding and very section. This is a patriarchal. If we do this and we do that, and you know, if we send him this money, how, you know, we would be fine and blah blah blah. And it's like, okay, you know, so the administration are dealing with that. Yeah, they did charge for that,
So,
but
Ms. Bullet,
you know, it's up to your company.
like how y'all was ready to close your bank and the IRS asked y'all to stay open, who absorbed y'all operational costs for the time y'all was open? The IRS, they take that out demand money too?
No, that's what I said. We charged him. Yeah, we did charge the IRS. We charged him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And he could have, you know, complain about it, but you know, I think he did call in about, he said he'd want to discuss that, the invoice, and CEO said, listen, you know, we had to go through to, you know, it was either we send him your entire or send them your entire 10 million and you try and get your 3 million back from them, or we hold it like you asked us to until we got the invoice. You see what I mean? And I'm sure he didn't want us to send the entire amount. He was happy to pay us well, 40,000 rather than try and get
the whole
back
$3
from
million
the US government.
back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so like I say, you must cooperate, but you must also balance your duty of confidentiality to your customer and only send information that is relevant to the case. Don't do the easy thing and take the whole file. No, take the entire report. No, with Miss Bullet information and Miss Gibson and Patricia information. No, they are not a part of the investigation. So you copy and paste out that piece of the report and you send that. You know, you can disclose, but then you like I say, you're dealing with human beings. And so, you know, I always say treat people how you expect to be treated. And so I would want my company to give me the opportunity to resign. We wasn't breaking the law. You know what I mean? And then he won his case. And let's just say he didn't get into any more trouble or whatever. Could we hold it against him? I mean, could we? Could we say that he shouldn't work anymore, perhaps in the securities field? Well, he shouldn't be in the financial services, but obviously the government of the Bahamas felt that he should have a job. until he got charged at the Ministry of Finance, so. Yeah. Revenue streams and network, and you'll be fine. Right? And stay on the good side of the law. Know your laws. Know your laws. Because one person even won a case because we normally copy and paste a lot of our laws, like from Cayman or the Netherlands or from Luxembourg. And in the print and the gazetted version, it said in the country of the Netherlands. And so somebody won their case. Yes, it was a crime and they committed it, but the law printed the copy and paste version. This is why I always say, I don't mark copy and paste. You must review it and put it in your own words. Right? And so that person won their case. Okay. Any questions or concerns?
I came in a little late, but I wanted to know. I wanted to know if we discussed the day's paper.
Yes, we did, but go ahead.
No, I'm just saying it was so ironic that the topic that we're speaking about tonight, it's in the paper headline in the business section for the bank report, SDR, as the SDRs and PEPs and stuff like that. So it is just ironic that I came in late. I read the paper earlier today and to see this is the subject, and I was quite surprised that the credit union banks decreased in fraudulent matters, and I'm thinking probably, like they said, I guess because of COVID, a lot of persons didn't have a chance to go in the bank in 2020 to do any transaction. But I was just curious to know which one of those banks that had that high risk rating. I know it's not my business, but I just wanted to, really wanted to know which one of those banks had that high risk rating, because they didn't say, but they pointed at one particular bank.
Probably Commonwealth.
I was saying probably the Renegades. Probably Commonwealth for real. They're Renegade, but yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Did they say whether it was local or they said a local bank?
Yes, they did. Local bank.
I would think I would think more so it's Bank of the Bahamas.
What?
I would put them so Bank of the
Yeah, I
Bahamas.
forget with them.
I was
forget
thinking
with
it was Bank of the
BOB.
Bahamas too.
Yeah, me
Yeah.
too now. I forget with them.
They have a lot of issues.
Mine too was actually Commonwealth Bank and Development Bank. I was saying probably Development Bank.
No, Bank of the Bahamas probably.
Wow. Okay.
Bank of the Bahamas is the People's Bank, eh? The PEP's Bank.
That's why they put the name. Other than
Yeah, 'cause
that, they
that's
would have put the
PEP's
name.
Bank.
But we'll see. It'll come out sooner or later. We'll see. Yep. Yeah, so Joey told us about the story about the SDRs. Yeah. And then again, like I say, more training and more SDRs are being filed. So, I think it's a combination of things why it was why it happened. Why the number increased so drastically. Yeah. Okay, so any other questions or concerns?
Ms. Bullard?
Yes.
Good night. Like I said, I came late as well. I saw where you sent the email regarding the review sheet. Are we still going with the names you have there? I don't know if I was reassigned because I came late. Just wanted to find out.
If you was reassigned, why you would have been reassigned?
I'm sorry. I just, because I came late. I don't have an issue. I just wanted to know because I came late. Maybe you figured I'm not here, so we'll give it to somebody else. I'm good with it. Just wanted to make sure first. Good. I'm good.
No.
Just checking.
Yeah, so get with your partner and
Okay, no
prepare for, so everybody knows how to reach their partner.
problem.
What partner?
Miss Bullet, I ain't get no partner.
I don't know. What are we partnering
Not,
about?
you don't need a partner.
Melissa?
You'll be
Someone
fine.
named Melissa?
Who doesn't need a partner? Me?
She
No.
say me.
The
Please,
review,
who
the
don't have
email.
one?
Miss Bullet, I want to go over my question, what I working on, please.
Which question is that?
The one for my points.
Wait, before you move on, with the review sheet, everybody has a question. Correct? Is there anybody without a question?
But Miss Bullard, it's McDonald. I came late and my computer's down. I'm on my phone. Can somebody send the sheet to me, please, so I can see who I'm partnering with? Who?
What's your name?
Okay, that's
Melanie
Melanie.
McDonald.
Okay.
Number 5 with Shantae.
Okay.
I don't see, where's my name?
Who is mine?
Okay, number 2.
Right?
So everybody, you must just answer the question that we're given with this partner.
Is Melissa in the group and in the class tonight? No. Okay.
No, I don't think Melissa's on.
Okay.
The Queens, you have
screen.
a partner. You have Shakira.
You just, I was on the thing what you email, only my name there.
So,
This one. Sorry, yeah. Y'all look at the one I emailed because I thought Alton, I didn't realize Alton and Shakira was the same one. Y'all look at the one that I emailed. I put up the wrong one just now.
Email, only my name there.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, so you could answer that by yourself. That ain't a hard question. If you need some help, let me know. But everybody else should have a partner. I was gonna add somebody. I was trying to see because we had 18%. So I don't know who was missing. It's only 15% here tonight, so I don't know who was missing. And hopefully by Saturday we'll be able to remind me to see if I can add somebody with you. But if you need help, just let me know. Okay, but everybody else is clear with their question and they know how to reach their partner. And they understand that what needs to be done for the 11th.
Yes.
Go ahead.
You mean
Jasmine, you clear? No, whoever was
Yeah,
talking
I'm
yesterday.
clear.
Okay. Jasmine, I was supposed to call you back, right?
I've been waiting. I've been waiting patiently.
I forgot about that.
Nobody call you?
No.
Okay, well, call me because I can be up a little late today.
Okay, when you say the call?
When we finish with this.
Oh, what's it? Give me a number again, please.
525-7191.
What's the first one? 425?
525.
525. Okay, 7191. Okay, I'll call you afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah. So everybody clear and everybody know how to use reach their partner. If they're not in the group, just send an email and you should be able, if you look at the link for the meeting, you should be able to get their email address from the link that Miguel sends for the meeting. Okay, but if you have any problems, let me know on Saturday, please. Okay, and then like I said, there are 5 persons who don't have their 5%. Sorry. There are 5 persons who don't have their 5% and a few of you who don't have a homework grade. And so please look at the dates and ensure that you sit comfortably in this exam. Okay, because you only have about 2 weeks left. So please.
Ms. Bullard,
I
just want to confirm.
Sorry?
That Ebony
Miss Bullard, how we can know if we have 5%?
You should know whether or not you spoke about. Yeah, I have Patricia, Shakira, Bakan, Relisa, Rosalinda, Daquiza, Alfreda, Candy, Ebony, Brittany, Jasmine, and Joey.
I did the newspaper, Miss Bullard.
Those are the
newspaper
persons
would
who
have
have, those are the persons who have the 5%, right?
5%.
Okay.
5%.
What
Miss
about the
Bullard, so
person
you
with
have
the
to do
10?
both.
Miss
Sorry?
Bullard, McDonald, I didn't hear my name. I did my paper on the Rotary Club thing, Cabanas.
You
Yeah, I
have to
didn't
enroll
call
the
your name.
newspaper too.
Yeah, for the
No.
most part, persons have their 5%, their 10%. Let me tell you, I want to hear from a little bit more. Okay, just 1 or 2 persons. Yeah, so hopefully in the review in next class, I'd like to hear a little bit more, but everybody's good with their 10%.
Okay.
I think I would have gotten 5 with the Baker Tilly story, the guy from the newspaper clipping. When he was talking about investors, like persons who, yeah. You remember
Yeah,
that, Miss
but
Bullard?
did you go to the civic organization? Is what you don't
I
have.
keep missing it. I have to, yeah, I can try to do that before Saturday life class. I keep missing the times when they
Okay.
post it.
Ms.
Yeah,
Fuller,
okay.
what is a
Yes?
passing grade in the final exam? Is it 70%?
No, the overall cost, it requires 70%. So if you get 70% in the exam and you don't have any other points, you still won't pass.
No?
You see what I mean? Because that's only 70% of the grade.
In exam, in exam.
Right, exam. So you have to get, if you don't have other points, then you have to get 100% in the exam to pass if you have no other points. You know, when
So-
people have tried that and it's been not successful, so this is why you do your homework, you
Yeah.
get your 5%, you get your 10%, you go comfortably into the exam with your 30%.
All right, well, those who have those, homework outstanding and need to speak up and visit the group, better get on
That's
it.
Miss Bullard, I want top of my homework question I will do Friday.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So, it's only supposed to be 1,000 words, right?
Between 1,000 and 1,200.
Okay. And answer?
I can't hear you. If you speak in, I can't hear you.
Hold on a minute. You can hear me better now?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay. So with my question,
I can't hear you again.
question number 3. And it's saying that countries should apply risk-based approach to ensure measures to prevent or mitigate money laundering and terrorist financing. Because we don't have no terrorist financing, I could just specifically focus on money laundering.
How we don't have no terrorist financing?
That's what I was asking you earlier. Because you're saying the drugs in terrorist financing. What other I
That's
know
what
it's
I
to do no
said.
terrorist
The drugs is not terrorist financing.
But I don't know it's to do no terrorist financing. I mean, I don't know no terrorist groups to be
What
affiliated.
it could be channeled through a nonprofit organization, you know.
Did you research it? Did you research terrorist financing in the Bahamas?
I did. I get no terrorist financing in the Bahamas.
Okay, so let's think about terrorist financing. Okay, so the 9/11, a plane landed in Freeport, right? That's somebody financed 9/11, right? A plane landed in Freeport.
The plane from 9/11.
Yes, we've had domestic terrorism, right? Through the gangs, right? And so we've had 6 people shot in Jerome Avenue. We have had 8 people shot at a park in Fox Hills. We have had 13 people shot at a baby shower in Montel Heights.
Oh yeah.
We've had a plethora of containers come in that had high, what they call the weapons?
Like
the
high-powered
weapons
weapons.
and that
High-powered
sort of
weapons, yes,
stuff.
I remember that.
So,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. So, but what does the question say? I say it again because I got to talk with risks. I don't, how you, what the question say?
That's what I was saying. Okay, the question reads, recommendation 1 states countries should apply a risk-based approach to ensure that measures to prevent or mitigate money laundering and terrorist financing are coming
That's on the
straight
classwork
with
or
the
the homework?
risk. No, notice the homework.
What is the question?
We are to critically analyze the quote where we are to mitigate money laundering and terrorist financing with all the risks that identified,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
We are to explain the information required to conduct a ML/TF risk assessment. The control should be put in place and monitoring of such controls.
Yeah.
Right. What I was
Uh-huh.
okay, what I was asking was if we were focused mainly.
Oh, shoot.
Sorry,
won't know.
we were mainly on the money laundering side, because I wasn't aware of the Bahamas doing any terrorist financing, but someone pointed out that I should be looking at it for terrorist financing.
No,
Ms.
but
Bullen, could you
did not
share the
look-
screen, please? I want to post something in the group.
Huh?
Oh, I have chat. Okay, I have it.
Sorry.
Okay, but that question you shouldn't be focusing on
I
money
was
laundering.
focusing mainly on the risk
The
assessment
risk
approach, right?
assessment, yeah, and what
Okay.
controls you should put in place, because these controls help to prevent when persons go out and money launder, or the drug dealers depositing the money into the system, or the terrorists depositing the money in the system. So what controls would you put in place in your institution to monitor, to ensure that, your company isn't infiltrated, right?
Okay.
And so
I have to
again,
focus the majority of my
you
paper
have
on the control.
yeah, and the risk assessment. So look at the control library page. Let me see what chapter is that. On page 33 in chapter 4, right? And so you have a strong, you should say your company has a strong onboarding policy where you will check the person and you find out if they were involved in any money laundering or terrorist, financing.
Okay.
And then you have a review process. Then you train your staff. Then you have systems that monitor. So these are the various controls. You have 2 people to sign.
All right.
Yeah, so stuff like that. That's the controls.
All right.
Yeah, so make sure that you understand what the question asked. Okay, there are 21 crimes under money laundering. So what controls we could put in place to make sure if any of these 21 crimes are carried out, that money does not come into our system.
Okay.
What do you do?
All right, I just posted a document in the chat, so you can look at it as well.
Thank you.
No problem.
Okay. And reach out to your network in this class. May let there are some persons there. You all should have a study group. Try to study together and help each other. If you could, and make sure that you run these questions across the class. And so very good for asking and putting it out there to make sure that you understand. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Okay, good. So
Jasmine, thank you.
any other
I'm
questions?
sorry to the lady who posted the document. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
Hi, was that posted to everyone or just a private post? Because I don't see it. Maybe I'm missing.
It's posted for
Keep
everyone. It's a
posted
Word
in-
document titled terrorism.
But it get posted in this chat here on Zoom.
Yeah, it's in this chat and Zoom.
And everyone can see that?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't see it. I don't see it in the chat.
I don't see it.
It says from me to everyone. Right.
I know I can't save it.
I don't care. What's your name? The person who posted it.
Jasmine.
No, I don't see anything.
I don't see it either, Jasmine.
No.
So I don't know if you sent it
No,
just to
it says
her.
from me to everyone at 8:18.
No, it went to
The last thing
everyone.
in the chat is
Honestly.
from Gibson Roll.
That's what I'm saying too.
Yeah, the last thing was what I posted and I said, thanks.
I don't see where
No,
Jasmine has posted anything in the chat at all. I'm seeing Ebony and Gibson roll throughout the chat. That's all.
Jasmine, I
Okay.
see
have
what
it.
you post,
I
but
can
I
see it.
can't open it.
I have it and I have it
You can-
open.
You have it open.
Can we
That's
download
it
it?
here. See
I
it here
have
on
it
the
open.
screen.
Yeah, you have to download it first, save it, and then click
Yeah.
it again to open it.
This is what is posted.
Right.
Could you try posting it again, please, Jasmine? I'm not seeing any text messages, sorry, any chat messages from you in the group chat on Zoom.
No? Okay.
No, the only persons I see chatting in the group is Roel Gibson, Alfreda Gibson, Ebony. I don't see
Okay.
any.
I see how.
Maybe you have to change it to send it to everyone. I don't know.
It says sent to
It is
everyone.
sent.
It has everyone.
It
Why?
says,
I don't know why
okay,
I'm not
here.
seeing it.
here it is. Can you see it? There it is right there. Can we see it?
Where is it?
See, I can see Gibson Roll saying test,
My
test.
mouse is on it. Can you see my screen?
I only,
Great screen.
no, I can't see that screen, Miss Bullet. That's a colorful screen I see.
They're showing your desktop.
Yeah, we can only see a desktop.
Okay, let me try again.
Well, Jasmine, you can't send it in the WhatsApp group.
I'll have to pull it down on my phone and then do it in the group.
Y'all still can't, y'all can only see my desktop still?
I can only see your cursor hovering over the Zoom icon, but I'm just seeing your desktop.
Okay.
Okay, basically what it's saying, I mean, this is just, it may help, it may not. Okay, just saying, this is from FATF. The Bahamas has assessed its terrorist financing risk in the draft NRA and the draft national strategy for the prevention of money laundering and the financing of terrorism, blah, blah, blah. It said the Bahamas does not have an effective system for terrorist financing due to deficiencies in the legislative framework. There have been no cases of freezing terrorist property or deprivation of assets and instrumentalities related to terrorist financing activities. Okay. The Bahamas does not
Okay,
have.
but you have to read that.
Yeah.
Jasmine, that's what they said initially. Now you have to read the update, right?
Yeah.
Because now
Yeah.
we addressed that. Yeah. So along with that, now read the update.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll try and I'll post a full thing inside our group.
And I would have emailed everybody the update. So after you read that, these are the findings. And then what did the Bahamas do? They updated, you know, and I think we are largely compliant in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this one have the recommended actions. Does it have immediate outcome? Yeah, for this one.
Yeah, but the focus of that question is on risk and what controls you put in place.
Mm-hmm. So Ms. Bullet, everyone has already turned in their homework or no?
Most, I think I have about 3 to 5 persons that don't have 5% and don't have homework. So they have 2 weeks left.
So if anyone need any help, y'all could WhatsApp me and let me know or put it in the group if y'all want any help. And I'll try and help as best as possible.
Who's that? Who's that?
This is Jasmine.
Thank you, Jasmine, for helping me already, and I'll continue to reach out to you.
All right.
Yes, Jasmine, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so any other questions or concerns?
I'll provide my information as best possible from my employer regarding sand dollar.
Ms. Bullard, the Bahamian, Ms. Bullard,
Hi.
the Bahamian law that relates to mandatory reporting of SDR, that's the Financial Intelligent Transaction Reporting Regulation 2001.
The FIU has their own laws, and it's in the FTRA as well.
It's in the what?
Something might be in the regulation, so it's in about 3 of those laws, yeah.
You said FTRR?
Yeah, so the FTR has, I think it's, let me tell you. Let me see if I could find. There are a few laws. Like I said, the FIU has their own law with their powers and what have you. And then the FTRA and the regulations have some some requirements as well. So it's not like in one law. And then also the penal code has some information as requirements. So I think you have to put all 4 of those together, but to get the full gamut of what is required in regards to STRs.
Because they spoke about reporting, but they didn't actually say suspicious transaction report. From what I read from the Financial Intelligence Transaction Reporting Regulation, they mentioned the reporting.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. I have to read exactly how the law works. Some things you will find in acts, some you will find in regulations, and some you will find in I can't remember. I'm not a lawyer. Joey, can you assist? I have it written down so I could refer to it. But
Sorry, repeat it again.
How does
this was the
act
homework
versus regulation?
Hello?
It's a homework. What the homework say?
This the question, the homework question. What Bahamian law relates to mandatory reporting of the SDR?
The FTRA.
That's the classwork.
The FTRA.
FDRA, okay.
I can tell you right now. I have look all these things in Miss Bullet. I have to look them up.
Which question is that?
That's for question 8. But yeah. The last question, question 8.
Question 8 of the homework. You mean the classwork?
It's the classwork, yeah, classwork.
Oh, classwork. Oh, let me go back to that. I see we have the Proceeds of Crime Act noted here in our notes.
The poker, I didn't find it in the poker.
It says here, the MLRO cannot tell customer that a transaction or activity is delayed because the report has been made under the Proceeds of Crime Act. Let me see what section it is. I don't know what section of the Proceeds of Crime Act it is, but that's where it's directing us to. Proceeds of Crime Act. 1 second.
Let me see. The Financial Transaction Reporting Act 218, Section 25.
Again,
Section. The FTRA 218, Section 25.
Okay.
And you mentioned poker as well?
This goes on to say poker is failure to disclose, which is 12, poker section 13, regulation, the money MLRO, and then 14 on tipping off, but it's the FTRA section 25.
Okay. Good. Thank you.
Okay, but like I said, the FIU has their own laws and their regulations as well. And like I said, I had a whole thing when I talk about the legislative matrix, how what will be found in the acts versus the regulations and laws, but I don't have it in my head, and my computer crashed and I got a new computer, so I don't even know where to find anything, but yeah. Yeah, but the answer for that one is they're looking for FDRA section 25. Okay,
Sorry,
any
is it
more
not
questions or
section,
concerns?
for suspicious transactions? It should be
Yes.
section 14, right? Of the FT.
No, 14 talks about tipping off, poker. No,
Section
14 and poker talks about.
talks
let
about
me see if I
suspicions or having reasonable grounds to suspect that the transaction or proposed transaction involves proceeds of criminal conduct. Oh, as defined by poker. Okay. So that's poker, sorry, section 14 applies as well.
Okay.
So 25
they
of
say fit.
FTRA and then 14 of poker.
Yeah.
Okay.
For SDR reporting.
Okay, so we good? Any more questions or concerns?
No.
No? Okay, so we'll do our final chapter, yay, on Saturday. And we all have our review questions, and so we will liaise with our partners to ensure that we have 10 points to share with the class, and please 10 relevant points. So it'll be useful for the review. And so each person should come to the review, and 2 persons are assigned. You should jot down their 10 points of relevance, not a fluff, and please come prepared. And I don't want anybody to be offended, but I normally say this is correct and this is fluff, so please be prepared if I say it's fluff, because persons get very, very offended when I say it's fluff. But I am just trying to tell you where you would get points, where you would not get points if it's relevant. And I think that's more useful than just letting you run on and on and on, and persons are documenting what you say. So I try to say, no, don't put that in, because remember, each question will be a page and a half the most, except for the mandatory question. It may be 2 pages, so you want 2 pages of meat and not necessarily the fluff. Okay, so come prepared with your 10 points, and I will tell you whether you should elaborate on that point or not. Okay.
Okay. Ms. Buller, just one quick question
ma'am.
regarding the mandatory question. I know we are normally required to include examples, local examples. because that one now is gonna be worth 20 points instead of the usual 10 points, how many Bahamian examples would you be looking for to get the full point?
But I think there are 3 questions at the back, 3 different scenarios at the back of the book, right?
Yeah.
So then it's 3 should be safe for you to get the full points.
Okay, thank you.
But again, just an overview of your case and overview of what actually happened and then the outcome.
Okay. Thank you.
And remember, we reading the current news, so I don't want you all just to tell me what happened in 2018 or when they get charged. And I said, all of those cases now have updated information out there that you can research. So make sure you have some current information.
Okay.
Because we discussed it in class for a few of them. Okay, so if there are no further questions or concerns, then we'll have a good evening and we'll speak again on Saturday.
Okay, bye-bye.
Good night, everyone.
Okay, good night.
Good night. Miss Bullet, don't forget to call me.
Yeah, I can call right now.
Okay, all right.
Okay, all right, thanks.